Happy holidays, everybody.
Ho, ho, ho.
Oh.
The bell's jingling. Jingle, jangle.
Yeah,
Jangle, jingle.
I would have like reindeer stuff, but I didn't have them here. I don't have an effective way to do that fully.
Twer jangles.
Hope you guys are having a great time and a great December. We are reaching out to you so that we can let you know that we are going to have a hiatus. A good number of us traveled back home for the holidays on kind of different schedules. So we basically are going to be in different parts of the country for most of December. We were able to use some of the stuff that we already had recorded to get up to now. But for the month of January, we're going to be taking a planned hiatus. If things change and we decide to come back with content sooner, we'll let you know. But for now, we're planning to release our next episode on, I believe, January 29th, which will be the last Wednesday in January.
Yep. Hopefully some new bells and whistles.
Harder.
New bills and whistles.
And some really cool stuff. Thanks to the help of our sect elders and our sect members, we have a little bit more resources to actually build some cool stuff. So
yeah, no, we really appreciate both Yuki Okami and James, but everyone that has given us encouragement, joined our Discord,
absolutely,
gone out to dinner with us.
You guys make this show worth doing.
I can say with full confidence that this show would not be happening if it was not for you guys.
Yep.
I have more than once, been close to giving up and have not because of you guys. So we really appreciate it. We hope you guys really do have an incredible holiday season, and I hope you had, I guess, at this point. Man, we look forward to getting back in the swing of things and getting close to February. So.
Enjoy this episode. Which one is it?
Release the witch.
The following podcast may contain spoilers.
Hey everybody, we're back again. This time, this is Jonathan Kinney. As usual, this time.
I mean, sometimes it's not you. It
This
hasn't
time it
been
is
that
Jonathan
yet.
Kinney.
It's true, I guess. I don't know. But I'm your host, joined as always by my co-hosts.
I'm Bill.
I'm Rich.
I am Seth. Haha, major way.
Oh, like you did.
Excellent.
A pregnant
Anticipation.
pause.
Mhm.
Pregnant pause.
That pause just gave birth to
Gross.
my name, Seth.
No.
All right. So, fun, weird energy for the opener. Really into it. This is the Treading the Path of Heaven podcast. We
Sure is.
talk about novels that we like, and this time we're bringing one that's been heavily requested by our fan base. Release That Witch.
Release her. It?
Her.
Her?
Yeah, definitively her.
Yeah, witches are generally hers.
Definitely here.
Would it
Although
be-
that may not be the case later on. I mean, I honestly am not super far into this novel.
Would it be released at Warlock if it was a guy?
Yeah, would it be?
I don't know.
Okay, we're not one of those
Only
societies.
witches are the only ones to have magic thus far in the plot where I am.
Okay.
Is it like,
Well, there's other things, but they're more like we don't know if they're human or have genders. So
So there's not like alchemy magic. I'm sorry, we got too far into this too quick. Hey, what's the book this week? Release That Witch?
yeah,
Tell me more about that book.
so the witches in this world? Okay, before you get into it, are they like sexy, crazy dungeon defense witches, or is it like
okay.
hags?
Okay, so here, yes to the sexy, crazy dungeon defense witches, but
Ooh.
not like persecuted like medieval Europe witches.
Okay, yeah.
That sounds like a fun combo.
Yeah, no, there are like stones
Burn
that
the
basically
witch.
nullify the powers of witches, and witches, with very, very few exceptions, can only operate their power within like a 5-meter sphere of themselves.
Interesting rules.
Yeah,
Sure.
there's a lot of really cool stuff. I'm actually really
Do
excited to
they
get
just
into
like
it.
do their powers just like violate the laws of nature? Or?
Yes, exactly, and that's the point. Is because this is a story about a trans. No, he did die. He is a reincarnator.
So
Sorry.
it's not a transubstantial.
Yeah, it's not a transmigrator. He is a reincarnator.
Substantiator.
Transubstantiate. Yeah,
No, that's the next.
that's the next story.
Yeah.
But so he was I believe, a mechanical engineer
Okay.
on Earth, and he was like late 50s, early 60s, somewhere in that range. But basically, he had been working 3 days straight on a project that his asshole boss had assigned to him, and he died of exhaustion.
What a man.
Wait, is this a Japanese novel?
It's
or-
Chinese.
Chinese.
Oh, dude, it set up like a Japanese.
Yeah, no, it's basically what if they took a Japanese isekai and just like someone from China wrote it though.
What if author Mu wrote it?
Yeah, basically, that's what I'm all about. Yeah,
Such a metal name.
Hit me with that novel description.
Well, I want to give you some little facts here about Release That Witch. It started in 2016. The chapter status is completed at 1498.
Oh, it's not that long for Chinese.
And it's honestly, the chapters are relatively short. Like, they feel kind of like popcorn chapters, to use our kind of previous terminology.
Okay.
I never feel like I've invested a crazy amount of time. Like, typically, if I'm in a rush to do something, I'm not like, I need to stop reading this. I'm like, I'll just finish this chapter.
Okay.
And it says Chidian is the place to find it.
I am not reading it there. I am reading it at novelful.com. I don't know how legitimate that is, but it's a place where it is, and it's not Chidian, so I'm going for it.
Yeah, I read it. I personally read like the first few chapters like a long time ago when it first came to Chidian, and so it's there as well. I don't know what the official thing is.
Fair enough. The description says Chen Yan travels between worlds, ending up becoming an honorable prince in a medieval fantasy
totally
world.
forgot his name was Chen Yan because his name immediately changes.
Yet this world was not quite as simple as he thought. Witches with magical powers abound, and fearsome wars between churches and kingdoms rage throughout the land. Roland, a prince regarded as hopeless by his own father and assigned to the worst fief,
Yeah.
spends his time developing a poor and backward town into a strong and modern city, while fighting against his siblings for the throne and absolute control over the kingdom. Join Roland as he befriends and allies with witches, and, through fighting and even farming, pushes back invaders coming from the realm of evil.
Oh man, I'm already excited.
That's
The
a
kingdom
really
building.
that's a really well written
Yeah.
synopsis. There's like
No,
just,
that is actually an incredible synopsis. That's like way better than like 90% of the ones.
sometimes
on
the
that site.
synopsises are just like translated Chinese synopsises or whatever synopses.
that not
Yeah.
only
Synopsi.
used good English, it like that pretty much fully describes everything I've read in the book up to this point.
Everything you're about to talk about.
All
just
right,
read that again.
let's
Then.
pack it in. Let's go.
All right, we got some
Way
business.
more detail, but no, it is exactly that though. It is exactly what you're saying, Kingdom Builder. When I've been trying to get Richard hyped to read this novel, what I told him was reading this novel feels like playing a Civilization game.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Like the good part of playing a Civilization game, not the bullshit. I'm waiting for 10 turns for my technology to update.
Oh no, they took that part out, I guess.
I mean, he bought granaries from the beginning.
That is actually true, yeah.
First thing. That makes sense.
Well,
Any 4X game you gotta
He filled
establish.
his granaries immediately.
Okay.
What a
But
god.
no, like let me talk about this. First off, let me set up a little bit of the political background of this world. This world that they are in is very much based on like a medieval Europe kind of society. So much so that like Chinyan, our hero, who gets transmigrated into the prince, Roland Wimbledon.
I hate it. I hate the name. I hate it so much. It's like
so
somebody
good.
was like, "Hey, what are some white names? What are the
What is
whitest
most-
names?"
What's the whitest thing I've ever heard in my
Yeah,
life?
it's
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon. It's definitely Wimbledon. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
With his brother Timothy. There was an older brother, but I've forgotten his name.
Some call him Tim.
There's the oldest sister, Garcia.
Garcia Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Garcia
And then there's Roland, our main character, and then underneath the youngest sibling is Tilly, the younger sister.
Oh,
That's a okay.
poor sweet Tim.
No, there's nothing.
Tilly.
There's nothing poor and sweet about Tilly. She's great. Actually, no, that's not like she's a genuinely good character. So like, I don't want to say that, but she's not like she's a hard ass. Like she's not soft.
Okay. Her name's Tilly though. My mind goes, oh, she must be.
Yeah, we'll get into her.
sweet
I'm gonna
baby.
spoil a little bit about. I'm about 350 or so chapters into the book, give or take, 20 or so chapters. I'm not really sure. Last time I checked, but I just keep kind of losing myself in reading when I start. So, but this kingdom, the king is dying, so he has given out a edict to his children that they are going to contest for the throne. So he gives them all territories within the kingdom and says whoever manages their territory the best
So he sets up a 4X game.
after 5 years
Of course.
will become the next king.
Does he put them in corners that have similar setups of resources?
No, not at all. They get put very much in favorited positions. Like one of them gets a thing that's like on the port, but like doesn't have any ability to build armies. That's Garcia.
Oh.
There's one that has like the trade hub of like the thing, like the second, like there's clear favoritism going on. Roland has literally a shitty mining town that is so shitty that when winter and the problems associated with it in this world show up, instead of defending themselves, they just move to the next town and then come back in and fix all the damage that the weather and beasts did to their town.
Shit.
It's literally called Border Town.
Oh man, they couldn't even give it a real name. God damn. Is the mine at least good?
It's decent.
No.
I mean, it's a solid mine. Like, it's a good enough mine to establish a town.
Okay.
It is also basically the town's only source of resources / income. Pretty much everyone in this town either like does essential town work or does this in some capacity, whether it be like shipping or processing or actual mining.
Is there anything stopping the people from going to war with each other during this 5-year period?
No, not really, other than the fact that, they are brothers and sisters and they're supposed to quote unquote do stuff. But we'll get into that. This is like background rather than like what happens moving forward.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to set up like what happens before the
what
characters.
the premise.
The other very important, so like the king's done this. He set up all the kings. The fifth sister like went off on her own. She just like disappeared when this edict showed up. Garcia, the third sister, is like known to be a genius, and everyone's a little bit terrified of her. The second prince is not the crown prince, but is the king's favorite in terms of like has been given the best position within the towns and all that kind of stuff. Roland is basically like didn't want to participate. The king was like, just fucking go out there then, and we'll like come back in 5 years. Just like last it out, and I'll give you some shitty position where you can live out your goddamn pervy, lecherous ways the rest of your life.
Wait,
You piece of shit, son.
Is Roland really that much of a piece of shit?
Oh,
before?
he's like the silk pantsiest, lecherous, garbage
So
piece of shit.
he's the
To
least
the point
favorite
where
son.
the minor nobles in Border Town are so pissed off at him, and so like the people in the nearby town are like, "You're pressing on my power, shitty prince." And you've pissed off all of the nobles in your town, so they poison him and kill him, which is the point at which our main character comes into his body. If I'm remembering that right.
God, he comes in,
But
fucking dying.
I don't think that poison part got revealed till later, or I'm reimagining it from another novel, because you know how it is. But like basically the point is like he was not doing a good job. Everyone that knows him hates him, thinks he's completely incompetent. Like he never paid attention in schooling, he's never done anything. No one respects, trusts, or expects anything from him.
Thus, he is in the perfect position.
So he wakes up in the middle of we're going to jump into the actual story now. He's died. Remember, you get that brief story about him as on Earth, and then he wakes up as Roland Wimbledon in the middle of a witch's trial. Like, she's basically tied up on the stake, like, ready. I think they were actually hanging her, but so to speak. Like, ready to be killed.
Burn the witch.
They're all like, should we kill her? And it's like, it is a part of a nobility's duty because of the church, who's the other major faction that I totally skipped over after saying I was going to talk about. But the church is a really big thing. They are the ones that persecute the witches. They have a large amount of power in this world because they control the flow of those stones that limit witches. Which is not to say they're not, like, uncommon. Like, almost any noble would carry one of those so they couldn't just be, like, assassinated by a witch. How common they are makes it so that like witches aren't typically useful for large scale warfare, because if you just equip enough of your soldiers with those, they just can't last in the short run. Like as long as the knights can get up to them, they're just girls.
Yeah, it's 5 feet away. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's not. I think it's 5 meters or something. Like I think the stones actually vary in power based on their purity and size. But
Okay.
there's actually a witch that kind of like her power is going into kind of like an ethereal plane kind of thing that she describes as being in the fog. And while she's in the fog, she can like see the shape of other witches' magic and like see that people are witches, and she's like intangible.
That's incredibly useful for the church, huh?
She's not a church witch.
I know, but like I imagine the church would probably want her to find other witches.
The church wants to kill all witches as far as we know for a long time. There's some shady shit going on that I'll get into later. Roland shows up, sees witches, and is like, magic isn't real, and then magic is proven real to him in a scene I'll describe shortly after. But then he's like, this is incredible. This is amazing, because what happens is he decides not to execute this witch, not because he really feels like he owes it to the witch or whatever, but because he's like, I don't have enough information. So I'm just going to delay this to tomorrow, act like I'm being lazy, and then see what's what.
All right, that's a smart play.
So
Does he say release that witch?
I don't remember.
Halt!
He
Release
probably
that
does. I'll be
witch!
honest. I don't remember though. I don't think he does it at that time. I think he does it after the next scene. Basically, he goes down to the dungeon late at night. This witch is like despondent. It's like a fucking. She's like a very young girl. I think she's like 16, 15, 16, somewhere in there. And she's got one of the godstones on her, so she can't use her powers. But she's like incredibly beautiful. Like a mystical, like charming sense to her. Like you'd just be drawn, like almost like the esoteric side of charisma.
She could kick a puppy and nobody'd blame her.
She
God,
could shoot a person. in
fuck
Fifth
that
Avenue.
puppy.
The puppy did something wrong, obviously. But he is like, all right, well, I want to see if magic's real. I want to see the magic's fucking real. So show me your magic. And he like takes the stone off of her, and like she just basically becomes like a ball of fire.
Okay, that's pretty magic.
Everyone else is like terrified, and she like goes kind of crazy, and she's like, all right, boom, I'm a witch. Like, are you gonna kill me now? And he's like, no, I'm gonna hire you.
Of course. Yeah.
This of course changes her whole life. So her whole life becomes about him, and like there's this kind of like fun romance between them that develops as the story goes on. That's really like kind of sweet and cute because the guy's a dork. But she basically like, because he sees her produce flame, and he is like, she's reversing entropy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are things that go against the laws of nature.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Like he's immediately like, this breaks entropy. We have a hope to defeat like the chaos of nothingness in this world. And he's like, I've got to, and then like he like immediately finds his purpose in this world.
Hell yeah.
And starts like learning and setting up what he can. So like he immediately like, he's like, well, this is bullshit. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Magic doesn't kill people. People kill people.
Yeah.
So witches are neither good nor evil until they've done anything wrong. And it's like, and he's like, aren't you going to kill me? I'm a witch. He's like, have you committed any crimes?
Burn the witch!
And she's like, no. And I was like, well, then why would I?
Do 2 + 2. She knows math. Burn the witch.
Oh no.
No, there's shitty schools. She was actually a product of the shitty school, which is great.
Okay.
So he basically sets up this whole premise where he's like, he hires her, hides her in the castle. Immediately, like, he learns about this whole issue with the months, because like they have like a pseudo Game of Thrones winter where it's kind of like a number of months. It's not where it can be like way too long. It's going to be like a relatively like 4 to 5 months at most.
But winter's kind of harsh.
But winter's really harsh, and demon beasts show up. There's
Oh,
also
okay.
that.
Okay.
How demon
The
beast are we
standard
talking?
demon beast.
It's mostly just like kind of weird genetically mutated like beasts that are just kind of like stronger and more ferocious and aggressive than beasts.
So like dire bears?
Yeah, it's a dire beast would be a pretty good way to think about it. But then there's also higher tier ones that are kind of like genetic fusions of multiple beasts, and
Oh, no.
depending on what kind of gets mixed up, they can be terrifying. Some of them can fly, some of them can like run up walls.
Are they tameable?
Not that we have seen thus far in the story by people that are human.
So it's like giving a tiger wings, you would say.
You know, funny you say that, because there's a witch later on called Maggie who's a fun character. Her power is to turn into birds that she's seen.
Oh no.
So her bird, like, but they're always like a little bit bigger than the version of the bird. So like she turns into like a like halfway between the size of a pigeon and a human pigeon.
Oh
God.
goodness.
Oh man, my car is crying right now.
And
I
she
can
kind of
imagine
like
those dogs.
talks in like goos and coos even when she's in human form,
Oh.
but can talk when she's in bird form too. She's a fun character, but eventually she meets a flying demonic beast, and like one of the things Roland discovers as he learns more about witches and creates more of a safe haven for them is that once they understand their magic better and understand the world better, their magic has a chance to evolve and grow stronger and develop new aspects. And pretty much every time like a witch has had this like second awakening, basically, their magic has become like exponentially stronger.
It's World of Darkness magic. I don't know if you guys are familiar with World of Darkness. They do like Vampire the Masquerade or like Mage or
Oh yeah.
a Werewolf. In that one, magic violate the laws of nature, but the more you understand how things work specifically, the better you can exploit the laws, like countering the laws, so they get exponentially more powerful the more they learn, which is why they need to know things. So he's just educating witches, is what he's doing now.
Basically,
With
yes,
science.
absolutely educating witches with modern day understandings of like math and physics and like
Gravity.
and like he's explaining like and Anna is actually like a genius. She's incredibly smart. Like she always was devouring knowledge as a child in her schools and all that kind of stuff. Anna is the first witch. I don't know if I've actually said her name.
The first
have not,
witch.
yeah.
Okay. So that's the witch that he originally was on trial, was Anna, the 16-year-old.
The one that turned into the wildfire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she has like control over fire. At first, he's like, well, he learns all the restrictions that witches have, and he's like, well, then obviously the best use for witches is going to be in civil projects.
Yeah, of course.
And I know how to make guns. So eventually, I'm not going to have to worry about military force.
Yeah, because I'll have guns. They won't.
I mean, she's an infinite source of fire. I mean, as a mechanical engineer,
She-
he must
there is-
immediately make engines.
He does wear them out to use their magic, and there are like restrictions on it. So it's not like infinite, but it is in the sense of like all they have to do is kind of rest and it comes back. There are limits to it, but there are ways to use it very effectively and like efficiently. And a lot of what Roland does is force the witches to practice and master their own powers.
Do calisthenics. It's just
Well, one of the things
Sure,
that
man.
happens to witches is that they have this thing called the Devil's Bite, or the Demon's Bite. I can't remember which one they said. But basically,
it's my new 80s
on
rock
the
band.
anniversary of their awakening, an abundance of magic power will build up, and it will cause a lot of witches will die, like be racked with pain and die because of it. And Roland discovers that the reason for this is because the church persecutes them and they're constantly on the run and constantly have to hide their identities and who they are and all that sort of thing. They don't have the ability to actually use their magic. And the Devil's Bite is just an overflow of magic power, basically.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
their batteries.
So if they just like drain themselves and use all of their magic power, they're fine. They basically get through it with like no problems whatsoever. And so like he learns this and he starts. It's weird because like I've talked so much about like magic and the demons and all this kind of stuff, but now I'm going to talk about how the plot actually progresses, because this isn't a plot about like him finding witches and them like using their powers to take over the world. This is a story about him finding witches and being like, oh, let me show you how you're a shortcut in scientific progress.
it's like
Yeah.
Dr. Stone
It is very much a Dr. Stone feel.
and how I got reincarnated as a slime.
So
With
friend making
Yamada and the Seven
sciencing.
Witches sensibility.
Yeah.
Ow. Take that, table.
Yeah, basically, like that's not a terrible way to put it. Like, because this, like I described, this feels like playing Civilization, right? So he's like, oh, well, the reason why we can't survive here in this town and we have to all like, go over to the nearby stronghold is because we don't have good walls. So I'm gonna invent cement.
Yeah, we're gonna make good walls. Let's make good walls.
So they just invent cement. Anna fires them.
Because of course she can. Because we don't need a furnace. We have a freaking witch.
Yeah.
Like, you just... All right.
Burn the witch.
So like, Roland's weapons are like, look at this amazing cake I have. Look how I can improve your lives. I've torn down your shitty houses and replaced them with like cement or brick ones that are insulated and survive the winter. I've like built like technological advancements that make your life. I've made soap available.
As we know from Ascendance of a Bookworm, that is the first thing you're supposed to do is make soap for your goddamn hair.
I guess if you're a 4-year-old child with no physical ability.
No, what we learned from the high school prodigies
Have it
anime,
easy.
Have it easy is nah, man, just we're gonna wreck your life. We're gonna
Hey guys, we
Bitch.
watch a lot of fucking isekai.
Well, I mean, like, fucking throw a stick and you'll hit
I
one.
mean, that's all there is.
Yeah. Just different variations on isekai at this point.
It's just isekai and
We're
then
done with
Vikings.
Earth, man.
That's it. That's it. It's just isekai and Vikings. That's really all there is to it.
But yeah, so Roland starts by trying to basically create this world where witches are able to accept. So he starts, like, I'm going to say a lot of stuff out of order. So, like, the stuff I'm talking about stuff is not necessarily how it happens in the plot. But I'm just
Okay.
going to kind of go over some of the stuff he does. Like,
Sure.
he goes over and, like, takes, like, a rising star in the theater in the nearby stronghold. And, like, her husband attacks his city in this spectacular defeat where he unveils cannons and repeating rifles for the first time, and this force of knights that's supposed to walk over, and Roland's supposed to bow over like he always does at military force because he's an incompetent prince,
Of course.
shows up and literally like kills everyone and doesn't like lose anyone. Because the second witch he discovers is a healing witch, by the way.
Of course. Wait, they were gonna kill a healing witch?
She got discovered because she knew Anna and they were friends in school. So she came to the castle and was like, I'm a witch, please. And like sees Anna. And then Anna's like, oh, you're a witch? You should live here.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And then her dad comes in and is like, no, my daughter's not a witch. Totally not. And it's like, you're a good dad trying to protect your kid. But also, I'm totally cool with witches.
Yeah, we're good.
But like he goes and steals the theater star and writes like Cinderella, but replaces all of the fairies with witches.
Oh, it's so smart.
And like writes like modern dramas and does it and like takes this.
It's witch propaganda.
Touched by a witch.
Yeah, it basically just starts using the
Touched
theater
by a witch.
and does it and sends it, puts it out in like open lots, so it's out for like the serfs and stuff. He gets a bunch of people that are refugees that come over to his city, and instead of just making them serfs, he's like, all right, you're working for me for now, but here's land that I provided for you. Here's seeds that I provided for you. Here's a house for you to live in. You're going to give 80% of your wheat to me. If you do that for a year and you've like met basic minimum quotas, you'll get the land you're living on for free. You'll become a free man. And you'll only have to give me, if you would like to continue farming, you'll only have to give me 20% of your grain moving forward, and the rest is yours to do with as you'd like.
That is a fair tax.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he like
It's a
basically
Tom Nook.
he just sets up actual win-win situations.
It is a Tom Nook. It's
It
I'll
is.
give you
Yeah,
everything
no,
you
that
need
is a
to
Tom
make
Nook.
me money.
But you're indebted to me
Yeah.
Yeah.
forever.
But like and then like, so
I'll
like
just keep making your house
but
bigger,
it's just
bro.
it's these great moments because it's like literally Roland's best weapon is treating people with human decency. Like he just treats commoners like they're people because he's trying to build like a not shitty world where nobility matters. Oh, there's so many great moments though. He builds hot air balloons and like his brother tries to fuck with him, so he bombs them.
With the air balloons, are they Anna-powered hot air balloons, or are they just?
Well, yes, they have an anti-powered hot air balloon, but he also has a legitimately powered hot air balloon, so that other witches can use it. And like he has it for scouting, and like he makes like he'll meet merchants that he trusts, and he'll like make trading contracts with them where he'll sell them technology for resources up front, but not like the actual technology. He'll just sell them the completed stuff. One of the first things he makes is a steam engine.
As he should.
People are like, "Oh, this is crazy," and like he starts using it for all sorts of things that you would use a steam engine for. Like he makes a large large boat.
Yeah.
Like
An arc.
a steamboat.
It is basically a steamboat, but yeah, it's just like a large low-based boat that he can use for storage.
A barge.
A barge. That is exactly the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just
So he made
disappeared.
a steam barge.
So
It's so good. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
he ate 4 dozen eggs every morning.
Yeah, and so like the merchants see that and they're like, "We need like 10
Large.
of these." And then like, yeah, we're just gonna attach the hot air balloons. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's great. I'll give you the hot air balloons, and I'll give you this first bottle of helium for free, but you'll have to come back for us for refills."
Yeah.
The
So he
dastardly
owns you
tactic.
forever.
There's a witch he finds that has like a magic brush kind of ability where like anything she can write like a micro thin layer of reality on top of anything.
Ooh.
She gets put up in the hot air balloon and sees the world in like a 3D perspective for the first time, as opposed to like being on the ground. Because like she's done a lot of like mapping and that kind of stuff, but like,
Is a cartographer witch?
well, I mean, yes, she does do that. She like draws the 3D thing, but that awakens her ability, and now she just has the ability to basically like have like a 3D pin that writes reality and like makes a cover of like things, and she can like she could basically will the covering to do what she wants it to, so she can make it like scratch resistant. So he uses it in place of rubber to make like tires for bicycles,
That's so good.
and like takes his chief knight and takes his horse away, and he's like, "You ride a bicycle now," and then like makes billboards with the chief knight riding on top of the bicycle, and he's like, "You can ride the mount of the chief knight as well. Inquire at the bicycle shop. Also jobs available."
Oh, that's so sick. Oh my
Yeah, no,
god.
this is a schemer. I like
He's
this
just
schemer.
making a factory with witches and just putting them for productivity. It's so good.
Made a witch
And
sweatshop
basically-
immediately.
The healing witch becomes like so well known so quickly because so many like a person gets like melted by the steam engine basically because he like showed up unannounced when they were like doing the cooldown procedure, and like they brought him into Nana and he just like gets healed to normal.
Ugh.
How?
And then it's like, well, I guess we have to pretty much tell people the witches now because we can't explain why this guy's alive.
Yeah, he got unmelted. That's
Um,
not. Easily, yeah.
But no, it's like, as you can tell, I'm kind of really excited about both aspects of the story, both the magic side of it and the kingdom building side of it, because like both of them are really fascinating, and it's what the majority of the story is about. It's both like him reaching out to new witches to try and get him to trust him and actually like come by, because like almost every witch has experienced at least one place that's tried to invite them in and then like trap them, either to sell them to the church or abuse their magical powers. But like he writes like contracts that have like days off, and like if you ever feel a task that I assign to you is unsafe, you're able to completely stop it or raise modifications.
You gotta tell me how to fix it, but also, yeah, okay.
You do not need to follow an illegal order.
And the witches are reading this and they're like, why would he put all this in here if he's just gonna like go back on the second it was inconvenient for him? But like he's put in a lot of things that are super inconvenient for him and are very beneficial for me. And like he basically, that's what I'm saying. Like
he was the put upon worker. He's not gonna do that to other people.
Exactly.
Like,
he understands it. So he just treats people with genuine respect, tries to make their lives better by being like, if you do like hard work for me, I will give you things, like I will pay you fairly, I will make your life better. He hires most of the knights that he has, and it's like he doesn't need knights because he invents guns very quickly.
Sure.
And so like he just trains civilians as a militia with guns, trains them like soldiers because he knows modern day military training basics. So like he goes through, he trains them with like carrot and the stick, he does like propaganda to train them, like he does all this stuff. And then they're like, their combat comes, they're able to defend off the beasts, you know, like they last in their town. They don't have to repair their homes. Instead of selling all of their ore for like 1/10 of its actual value to the stronghold, did it with nearby towns and like actually bought enough grain to get them through the winter. And like a bunch of like random, you know, crazy rocks and shit so that he can do sciencey shit.
Figure out how the godstones work, so he can counter the problem.
Figure out whatever that chemical is.
Yeah, he never actually does do that so far. Yeah,
it's got to be the goal.
I mean, I honestly, like I've said, I'm not super far into this. Like, it's 1,400 chapters. I've only read like 300 something.
About a quarter of the way.
We aren't even that far, and I'm already like, I gotta read this, and I want to know what he's gonna do.
I really haven't scratched the surface that much. Is the crazy part. Like, I've been talking to you about Roland's perspective because this book takes its time. This is not like a quick book. Like it feels like you're it's not. There are things that are skipped, but it feels like you're living most of the days of Roland's life as this goes on. Especially for the first part, a little bit less so now that the story's progressed somewhat. Time is allowed to move on as some of the bigger picture stuff has been introduced. But it's such a great, like it goes by every step. It's not like, and it introduces characters. It does a lot of like third person omniscient with its time. So like it'll have the person who was in that first militia unit, and he joined it because they basically got extra food. And then on top of that extra food, when they would go on to, like, when they would complete a training exercise, they would get additional extra food, like an additional egg. This was, like, crazy and amazing for them. But, like, they actually got loyalty and, like, we're proud to defend their homes. And, like, they know they have the witches have their back. And, like, they legitimately, for the first time, want to serve someone instead of just have to serve someone.
Yeah.
And so, like, he starts introducing the cannons, and he's like, they show Roland, like, later on in the story, having been worried about people applying for the artillery positions. Like, he doesn't know if people are going to be attracted to this. So then they tell a perspective from the perspective of this guy that was just a normal dude in, like, he was a miner. He's like, this sucks. I'm going to go ahead and sign up for this army training. He does that. He survives the first winter, and he's like, I'll be the artillery guy. And it, like, tells his whole story of, like, how he made the decision to have a part in Roland's kingdom and like what he stepped up to. And then once he's had that story, then he becomes an active character in the main character's progressions.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
So they have the story of like the alchemist in the King's City, and he's like just invented a way to make glass basically consistently, or like clear glass. And he's like super excited, and it's a big, huge thing for him. And like he gets a letter from Roland, who's basically just written some very basic chemistry truths, like 6 equations basically, and then he's like, try this experiment and it'll prove everything I'm saying is true. And then he like does some like basic shit, and he's like, oh my god, alchemy's all wrong. We're not removing anything. Everything still exists. Everything is wrong. It's all still,
I ate the bones.
and then he's like, at the last thing, he's like, if you want more, just come to Border Town. And he's like,
I got that good science snack.
I resign. I'm going to.
I'm going to become a
I'm
science
going to become a
user.
chemist.
Exactly.
Alchemy is bullshit.
That's
Not
exactly
alchemy,
what happens. And
just
he's
regular
like, he
chemistry.
learns chemistry, like, and he's like, oh, like he's like, Roland is like, yeah, because he has to explain how he understands all these things because he is notably bad at studies in his past life, like his life leading up to this point.
His lecher life.
Yeah, and like he has no idea why this guy would be so good at this, because like this knowledge doesn't exist. Like this guy is one of the top alchemists in the world as far as the world knows.
Yeah. How did the fool son of the king know this?
So he basically lies and says that he found some ancient books in like a ruin. And there was just a culture that understood this stuff at a much higher level than me. I learned some things, but I'm having to write it down and keep it all from memory and stuff. So he's like, I'll share with you this ancient text, beginner chemistry.
Oh my god.
I mean,
Jesus.
that's what it is, though. So,
But then there's this like scene later on of like the guy's apprentice who stayed in King City and has been ostracized because he was the former apprentice and everyone thought he was bullshit for getting a bunch of benefits just because he was the apprentice of the head chemist or the head alchemist. So then we have this scene of like him coming and the alchemist being like, alchemy, you idiot. Chemistry is real.
Stop wasting your time on that trash.
the only true alchemy is chemistry.
He's like, I know more than every alchemist in the world, you idiot. He's not actually a jerk,
But it's like he's been enlightened with these
yeah.
fundamental truths.
By the way, Anna, keeping up step by step in all of these things, she's actually the first witch to awaken her power because as she's controlling fire, he starts teaching her about atoms and like microscopic particles. And she's like, oh, so like, and then he's like, well, heat's just like stuff moving really fast. And so she's like, oh, everything's made up of tiny little balls. Well, I'll just think of my fire as made up of tiny little balls. And then it becomes, instead of this like light green flame that she can control, like a almost invisible monofilament,
Oh, so good.
like black flame that she could control both the size, shape, and it's like a cube, I think they describe it, but she can make it monofilament thin. She can individually control the temperature of segments. And so he starts using this to make precise machining.
Of course, as you would.
She's just vibrating atoms.
And so, of course, he's like, oh, if you learn stuff, so everyone else, like, he then starts forcing all of the witches to do, like, primary education. Because he understands that if they understand the world better, they have a chance to awaken their magic. It's just a lot of building, and it's a lot of, like, this person discovering the rules of this world while also doing the hard work of bringing the modern world to a, like, backward society with a very limited amount of resources, while the entire world around him is like kind of conspiring around him. Because what I haven't gone into is the very competent people also playing in this world. Garcia, his third sister,
Yep.
was 5 years before the order for the children to be split up and fight against each other, had already started building ships in the port city that she was given, and has started commissioning people to join her basically pirate fleet. She'll give them ships, and they just have to give part of their plunder to her.
Oh god.
And so she's built a like legitimately like the most powerful navy in the world before this has all really started. Her second brother Timothy goes to and there's going to be a little bit of spoilers here, so if you guys really want to read this and don't want any spoilers, you should stop now.
Plug your ears, go la 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 la.
For like probably a bit, because I'm going to get a little bit more into what I've read.
I'll start timing it. Go ahead.
Like, the second prince goes to have a meeting with the king to threaten him into letting him win ahead of time.
Whoa.
Exactly.
Whoa, what the cojones on Timothy?
Oh, no, way better, right? He's also taken the one of Timothy's most trusted advisors, who was not close to him, who was stayed in King City, not the place where Timothy was sent, or where the first prince was sent to go manage an area. He gets his hold and has that retainer write a letter to the first prince asking him to come because of like, terrible things that are happening in the city. And so he has to go and protect his father. And so he shows up, is led into a trap, walks into the room with his dead father and the second prince. We find out later from the second prince that the king killed himself.
What?
What the fuck?
Like, Timothy was like, oh, I'm going to manipulate you. And he's like, and just kills himself. With the second prince in the room.
Oh, shit. So he walks in and sees Timothy with his dead father.
Mm-hmm.
And the crown princess is, of course, going to be like, you killed
Of course, and that is what happens, but like I said, the crown prince was led into a trap here. All of the men that he's brought to protect him and all of the surrounding guards are all under Timothy's employ. They capture and trap the crown prince, feed him a drug that makes him unable to speak, but is otherwise untraceable. And then immediately move to have him convicted for the killing of the king.
No!
Which he is found guilty for since he provides no defense for himself and is summarily executed before the drug wears off. And as the kingdom can have no king, Timothy crowns himself king in King City and starts operating under the authority of the throne, immediately like calls everyone back to start like doing stuff. As soon as this happens, he starts sending a force against Garcia to go and threaten her.
Of course. Now we got to play the great game against the two most competent siblings.
Timothy, by the way, had like a merchant city that was like in the crossroads of a way, basically indefensible. Could be used to build an army, but like had no actual position, which is why he made the play.
Yeah.
Because he didn't feel like he had a good chance of winning, especially because he knows Garcia is deadly competent, and if he plays this straight, she's going to beat him.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, I'm going to win, though, so I'm going to play it by crook. Garcia sees this coming, has made a deal with the sand people of the South who are known for oil that burns.
Okay.
And poisons. They go to attack the city. She lights it on fire, has already moved south and taken a major city that's between his domain and the southern peoples, and crowns her, like declares herself
I am the
queen
true
of
queen
of that area, declares it independent from the kingdom.
No, yo, this is really happening. Okay, this got real very fast.
Like, I'm not going to go into what Tilly does, but she's also an important player and is doing her own very important thing in the story.
So the empire immediately collapses.
Yes and no. And then, once all of this happens, the church just shows up at everyone's doors and starts handing them pills. And they're like, if people take this, they'll get really strong enough to fight a knight in one-on-one combat. And starts selling it to all of the sides in the conflict.
Good job, church.
Is the church trying to reclaim power here? Like,
It is later, like, again,
God.
super spoilers here. I'm not feeling too bad because, again, I've only read like 300 chapters, so I know it gets way deeper, and there's way more twists and turns to come. But the fucking church has captured the king, so the king is alive and under the church's control in their holy city.
it was a plant. What the
You can't manipulate me.
They had used the fake to instigate the 5 people fighting over each other so that they could make the kings basically kill enough of the people so that they could declare them incompetent and be like, the church should rule the country.
Yeah,
We
we're
can
nice and
protect you
impartial.
from the demons.
For sure.
Like, I've seen this happen in history before. Jesus Christ.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why it feels like Civ, because this is not... Yes, this is the story of one person rising the world to modern times and like treating people with respect and all this stuff. But this is also the story of other brutal, competent, ruthless people.
Who is Roland bending the knee to? Does he bend the knee to the second brother?
Oh no,
Does he bend the knee
that's
to-
the best part. When the king sends it, like the second prince sends him a letter that's like signed like, you know, like King Timothy Wimbledon. Like, you're requested for, you know, services for our father. You should show up. And he sends back a reply, "Dear Prince Timothy, unfortunately, I'm protecting my family from my town from the ravages of the months of the demon," which is what winter is called. "So I won't be able to return until after, you know, the thaws have happened. So I won't be able to. Yours, you know, Prince Roland."
Yours truly,
Yeah.
Prince Roland.
But like very clearly, like not king. Not subtle. Like he very quickly is like, "Hey, no, I'm not bound to you. Fuck you."
Oh shit.
And it leads to all sorts of fun shit, man.
Oh
Like,
my god.
it's great. But like that fucking the moment where like the knights do the charge and the cannons and everything kills them, and there's just this moment where like everyone that's there is just like collectively has this realization of like, oh shit, the age of knights is over.
Yeah.
We just witnessed the end of an era of history and the birth of a new one.
Yep.
The birth of combined arms.
The birth of hot weapons.
They do be hot.
Indeed,
No,
they do.
there's all sorts of like the witches are half the fun of the story because they are like a super lively cast of characters. They are the Japanese harem without really being a harem, except in the case of a couple of them.
Some of them are absolutely a harem.
Dun dun dun.
But like he's kind of in every way other than like he's kind of a Japanese main character, sort of in that respect, but like not. He is because he's busy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's not that he doesn't want to.
Yeah, but he has a lot of shit to do.
The person that he's most attracted to is a 16-year-old girl, and he still has our sensibilities. So like he's like.
So he's just scouting. He has to wait.
He's like 20.
Scouting. He's
Yeah,
I'm gonna just like wait a few years, take care of some
Hang
stuff.
out. I got stuff to do. It's fine.
So-
I'll
so-
wait.
But no, like I said, the witches are like supernaturally beautiful as
Yeah.
well. So
The Japanese main characters usually be like, "Oh, I've been transferred, but for some reason my libido is gone. I can't, they don't."
yeah, there's all sorts of plots, conspiracies. There's all sorts of really fun kingdom building, world building, all sorts of new characters that get introduced and become important. There's this like heroic explorer of the Fords that like goes out and like fights people and like navigates dangerous waters and is like cool with witches, and it's like he's like an awesome character. And there's this whole witch association that was this group of like 42 witches that they meet fairly on, that they're like kind of at odds with because their leader wants to search for quote unquote holy mountain, this like mountain that was like prophesied to be a places where witches wouldn't suffer the witches bite and all that kind of stuff. There's these actual like the witches find this thing that like these kind of like demonic looking men that have these like cylinders of gas inside of them that when you break it the gas escapes and they stop moving, but like they seem to have witch-like magic powers.
They're robots. They're witch
Yeah,
bots.
they're robots.
We start finding like there are like ancient civilizations in this place and like definitely like missing history periods.
So he might not have been lying when he said that there was another civilization that came before them that knew chemistry and shit.
Oh, he was
possible,
lying.
but
Yeah.
like it seems like their civilization was based a lot more on modern magic. Like
Gotcha.
they have like stones that you can imbue magic in to like do effects. Very similar, like you have to have magic to use them, so more restricted. But I feel very similar to like dials from One Piece.
Yeah.
Which were just like shells that you could use for various effects. Some of them you could store force into and then release it later.
Yeah.
You could use them as like voice recordings. You could store wind in them and then use it to propel a ship. Like it was that kind of stuff. So like there's a magic stone they revealed that just like when you imbue with magic you can fly.
Okay.
That's useful as hell.
Yeah, it is. They use it well.
It sounds like a fun as hell book. Where'd you
It's-
say it was? Well, it's
Novelful.com is where I'm reading it
it's
again.
a Kidian book, I guess.
Yeah,
is
I don't know if there's a more legitimate or less legitimate way to read that or how legitimate it is.
Yeah,
But that's where I've been doing it.
that's good stuff.
Let's go ahead and move into genre savvy if that's cool. I think I've done enough baseline.
Is it though?
Like what haven't we covered, Bill?
That is the thing I have to ask.
Well, I mean, it's a good book. I didn't mind talking about it for sure.
No, because like all the protagonist stuff is like hardworking,
Yeah.
calm,
Mhm.
Oh shit.
caring,
Yep.
clever.
Got all those.
We have like pragmatic. It says like romantic subplot, but like devoted love interests.
Yep,
Which-
exactly.
which
as
is to
Lumen
say-
Right on the.
Yeah.
They're right into him, but they're not in for that right just yet. I guess the only one I can see that is enemies become allies.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, Roland is very like he is not a merciful person, but he is very much a person that will like. That's hard to say. Like, he routed a bunch of knights, right? Well, he captured all the remaining knights. A lot of them he just like hired as teachers, and it was like, you know how to read and write. You can teach my commoners how to read and write, so you'll be doing that.
Yeah.
Or
Or you can work in the mines
or
for
you can
20
go
years.
work in the mines as a prisoner of war.
Yeah, that's actually how he got the like he got a knight, and the knight was like he was gonna go kill him, and then the knight was like, no, I was going to kill the Lord of Longsang Stronghold because he basically stole my wife, or tried to molest my wife. Maybe did, I don't remember. It's kind of a pseudo fucked up world.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Sounds
it sounds accurate.
Yeah,
That was the other one I saw was depictions of cruelty.
yeah, but like so like that knight becomes like a legitimate force for him, like that really helps him. His wife comes from the stronghold to come move with him and expects to like, you know, she'll have a place to live, but he'll be working in slavery. They won't be able to see each other, but they'll be, you know, near each other and they'll know they're
Solidarity.
okay. Yeah, exactly. But like he's like, no, this is my house. It's much nicer than the one we had in the stronghold. I'm getting paid this salary. It's a lot. And she's like, can I become a teacher? And he's like, yeah, definitely. They want more teachers.
Yeah, please.
That sits for a while, and then, but like, she was the darling of the theater. So then later, when Roland leaves to actually do his propaganda, like, she suddenly shows up, and he's like, hey, you used to do drama, right? And then it just leads naturally into the next conclusion. They don't like they do a lot of like show don't tell with those kind of stories.
He's just, because of his actions, he's drawing in more talents that want to follow him.
And he's inspiring people to believe that they could be more, kind of a thing. Like he does like after the first months of the demons, he had a ceremony where he recognized the witch, the chemist, and one of his head knights, and he's like or like one of his head people. I don't remember if it was actually knight, like one of the head people in the militia. And he like basically gave them officer positions, he called them, which were not a nobility position, but it does come with land, and like it's nobility without calling it nobility.
You're a landed noble, but there's no noble.
But it's not heredity. It's not hereditary.
Yeah,
it's yours.
It's only yours.
He does this, and he's like, anyone who contributes to our society can become like this. This is an opportunity
Meritocracy. It's so smart, man.
available to anyone as long as you work hard.
It's the South way.
It is.
But you see that whole ceremony from the perspective of like one of the commoners who's like, I want to stand up on that stage. And then chapters later, he's an important character.
Hell yeah. I like that. That's some good growth.
Read this.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's a very well written. It's very intelligent. The pacing is really good. And like I said, the chapters feel very short, so like it's very easy to read a bunch of chapters at once.
That's a glowing recommendation.
But yeah, enemies into friends, like he does that a lot. He's very willing to work with people that, as long as he feels they're a good person. And the witch that can see the fog also has the ability to tell if people are lying because of that ability.
Yeah.
So he uses people, like, he trusts that information and that ability pretty implicitly. People can give false information, but they can't. She can tell if they are knowingly lying, basically. Yes. He uses her to do like recruiting and scouting, and
that's like the best spy master you could ever have. You can't lie. You can't knowingly lie to me.
Yeah. And she can turn invisible when she's in the fog.
It's so good.
So he just like does an interview with them behind a table, and then like at the end he's like, "Do they check out?" And she's like, "Yeah, they weren't lying, y'all." Cool.
It's so cool. It's so good. Where did he find her? What's
that's
her
the
name?
thing. It's like,
what's her name?
Half of this book is like him just finding the most practical uses for the witch's abilities, and you being like, "Fuck yeah, that's awesome."
Oh, so
Bill,
good.
were there any others?
No, all the other ones are very like firearms, engineer, economics, kingdom building, knights, like very, very solid, like we entrenched in what this is.
Yeah, this is very much like, I get the feeling very much from this, like if you like a kingdom building, if you like a story where the person cares about the homies, this is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Because like this
Sounds
is not
like
a cultivation novel where this person is ascending and going above people. This is a story where this person, apart from his like vested authority, is one of the weakest people on the world.
Yeah.
It's Isaac, except he's not an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice way to follow up Isaac is Isaac, but not an asshole.
He's Isaac, but not an asshole. Like, he's pragmatic, he's smart, he's building a kingdom, he has 5 years, shit's going down.
Well, he has 5 years. I think like the assassination happens well within that 5 year period, so that just throws
5
the whole
years,
thing out
but
the
then
window.
shit goes down, right?
Yeah.
Like it's Isaac, but the guy is like a heart of gold and not a terrorist. It's great.
he just understands like the principle of like, a penny from the many is more than a pound from the few.
Yeah.
So like he wants to build a society where everyone's well off and their wellness contributes to his betterment.
That's smart.
And he's like, if I can build this world, then it's easy. Everyone will relax knows. And because witches exist, maybe we can solve some of the big problems too. So, like, this doesn't feel like he's trying to establish himself and then go take over King City. This very much feels like he's like, no, this is going to be the new central city of the world.
Yeah.
Border Town is where everything comes from now.
The center of it all. Border Town.
Border Town, on the cutting edge.
Yep.
I do want to point out in the recommendations on the site, Novel Updates has 7s, which I've heard is good.
I think it's been recommended to us at least once.
And then Ascendance of a Bookworm.
Maybe it's better reading. No offense to anyone who likes the anime, it just wasn't for me.
It's slow.
But yeah, that pretty much concludes Genre Savvy.
There's one last thing I wanted to do.
What you got?
Witches in the outfield. I've been holding on to that the entire time.
Oh yeah, keep in mind this main character, although he does not act on his lechery, is actually a little bit perverted and has his own kind of like, his own tastes. So he does equip these people in sexy witches outfits complete with hat, short cowl, slim black dress, and long black boots.
I mean, of course, he's a grown man.
Yeah, that's what witches dress like.
Oh, yeah. That's the best part is when Anna's learning to control her powers. He just has like a bucket. It's a modified maid's uniform.
Of course it goddamn is.
Okay, give me one of the names of the witches.
Anna, Nana. I mean, there's lots. I don't. What kind?
Well, preferably 3 syllables.
There's a lot.
Dun 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 dun.
Lightning.
Lightning, the teenage witch. Let's go.
Okay.
Oh, Lightning the Teenage Witch. Oh, it's so good.
No, Lightning's actually. It's a very tomboyish witch who looks very much like Ezreal.
Oh, goody.
And
does he mention? Does she looks like? Ezreal?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. No, to the point where he thinks it's very funny and keeps making references. He keeps doing things like he also brings like entertainment from the world. So like there's a witch he meets that uses a greatsword. So he makes a Ashbringer from WoW and gives it to her.
Oh my god, it's so sick. Okay, all right, no, I'm done. I gotta read that. Holy shit.
He invents Gwent as a pastime.
Oh, that's so sick.
He just calls it Gwent.
Yes.
Like,
Who's gonna call him on it?
who's gonna stop him? I mean, hold him to copyright in another world. I'm a prince, goddammit.
It's great.
I invented Gwent.
No, you heard Richard. He's done. We gotta stop this now.
Richard's been convinced.
I'm reading this shit tonight, okay?
No, it's a really, really fun read. If you like kingdom building, if you like long-term character building, if you like I described this and was promptly yelled at by Seth that described this as a long form epic, because I was using epic to describe the scale of the story and like the large area and scope that it has, and long form to describe that it really takes its time. It doesn't rush anything. It doesn't skip over to get to the fun part. It goes through each of the steps, much like science has.
It is a 4X game in pacing and in also scope.
Epic.
Release that witch. Isekai'd on 4X.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. It
Cool.
very much feels that way.
All right, that's what we're going to use for this the synopsis for our episode. We talk about it, whatever. Okay.
But no, I'm definitely going to continue. I'm finishing this one for sure. It's
we on to business?
On the business.
Give me the business.
We already had the pleasure.
Pleasure was over. Time for the business. Business item 1. We have a Patreon. We just released a episode that was just the bill. You can go back an episode and listen to that if you'd like. And that's the kind of stuff that's back behind our Patreon. We're about to record another one.
Bill just.
It's a fun show. We're gonna
Featuring Bill.
featuring Bill. Me. All Bills, all the time. Forever
Well,
Bills.
some of them aren't me.
Well, yeah.
A lot of them aren't me.
They're all variations on a bill. But okay, so that's behind the paywall. That's on our Patreon. You can become a member of our sect. It's really not very expensive to do. But if you can't, no big deal. You can still listen to it like this. But
You can
also
be in our Discord without the cool name.
yeah.
You could be named though.
You could listen to all of our episodes a week later than all the cool people.
But you could be named though. Like
You could-
like Yuki Okami.
like
Or like
Yu-Gi-Oh! Kami?
James.
Oh yeah,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
James.
James. Isn't there a third guy? What's
Nah,
the...
He's not an elder. He's just a member of our sect, and we are very appreciative.
yeah, intersect member.
Thank you, Intersect member.
Yeah, vague intersect member. You know who you are. Yeah.
What else we got for?
We don't have any reviews. We do have a Twitter and an email address. It's at tigercoaster and tiger.rollercoaster@gmail.com. Also, we're on Facebook. But we're also on YouTube. All of our episodes go up on YouTube, and we are about to start putting some new content up there, I think.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's our goal. We have some cool ideas.
I got a lot more free time now, so I can.
Oh
work
yeah,
on that.
a good number of us just lost our jobs all at once. So it's been
Real
pretty
good time.
interesting couple weeks.
We got a nice, in theory, a nice severance bonus, so that'll be nice.
In
maybe.
theory.
Maybe one day. But that's it for business. What didn't we get to talk about?
We didn't get to talk about the time where he discovered a witch who could manipulate the ground, so he made her create bunkers.
Oh, I love it already. Oh God, it's so good.
We didn't get to talk about.
We didn't get to talk about the time where he created. There's a fucking witch whose power is making things way less.
That's super.
So he uses her to make an iron welded bridge.
Oh, no,
Yeah, no.
Oh, that's so good.
What else did we need to talk about?
Oh God. God,
You talked about a lot, so
we didn't get to talk about the time the church created a plague.
Wait, the church just creates plagues. This church is evil.
And then he found a witch whose power
Was soap?
was basically preserving food, and he's like, oh, so you just kill microorganisms. And it immediately created a microscope and confirmed that she wasn't just killing microorganisms.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But then once she discovered that, her power awakened, and then she was able to it turned out that she basically had a controllable legion of her own micro things that would eat the microbiorganisms and then create her own version of them.
She's her own antibiotic. He has antibiotics now?
So he realizes that, puts it into water to make like dirty, nasty water that then the antibiotics thrive in. And then he just sent it to go cure the plague. And he's like, any refugees that want to come to my kingdom and work, drink the water, get healed, and come.
What else didn't we get to talk about? Last one. That was a fucking silly one.
It's so cheap.
I don't know, man. That was 3.
Oh my God, dude,
Yeah, no,
that
that's
was
3.
too good. Yeah.
We didn't get to talk about God's punishment army or the Legion of Judgment.
God's punishment army.
I imagine they all have like whips. Do they all have whips?
And the slow build of people starting to take Roland seriously.
That seems like the main theme of this book. People being forced to take this fop seriously. Fop intended in the nicest way possible.
Oh no, it was great. When he started talking to someone and they were like, wait, you sent this person? But they'll be able to verify that this person is clearly not Roland because he's clearly been there's an imposter. No one this competent could be Roland. There's no way he hit himself that deeply.
Man, that's a true goddamn insult. Like,
Holy
fuck that
shit.
other guy.
Fuck them.
Wow. Okay, well, we've been Tread the Path That Happened. See you guys next week.
Release that witch!
No, 2 weeks. Yeah, next time. Katie's very careful to say that. Next time.
Field of Witches.
Tiger Rollercoaster Productions. Tigers are scary. You try to get off.